sattiya-cit-sukham para-uyir-sār-ayikkam arttha-vat-tattvati ṇapporu ḻāmacalat attham ghaṇamadu vāhuñcev vāṭaka varuļyā mutti niṇaikka Arunachala muṉṉiḍavē.
Namaskaram. In the previous video in this series, I talked about the first verse of Arunachala Pancharatnam Arunachala Navamaṇimālai, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about the second verse. As I said in the previous video, the 9 verses of Arunachala Navamaṇimālai were composed by Bhagavan on different occasions. The context in which he wrote this second verse is not known as far as I'm aware, but it may have been, some devotee may have asked Bhagavan to explain the significance of the name Arunachala. That's one possibility, or could have been for some other reason also. But anyway, what Bhagavan explains in this verse is the inner meaning of the name Arunachala. The whole of this verse is just one sentence, but to make sense of it, we have to read the final clause first, because that provides the context of the first 2 clauses. Well, I'll read the whole verse first, and then I'll put it in order. In the first clause, Bhagavan says, sattiya-cit-sukham aṉṭṛi, that means besides existence, awareness, happiness. Sattiya-cit-sukham sattiya-cit-sukham is another way of saying Sat-Chit-Ananda. That is, satyam is sat, chit is chit, and sukham is ananda. So besides existence, awareness, and aṉṭṛi means besides, or in addition to. Besides existence, awareness, happiness, para-uyir-sār-ayikkam, arttha, tattvamasi. That means that tattvamasi, that implies that mahavakya, tattvamasi, which means that you are. Para-uyir-sār-ayikkam arttha, the meaning of which is the oneness, ayikkam. Ayikkam is a Tamil form of the Sanskrit word aikya, which means the oneness, of para, the supreme, or God, or Brahman, and uyir, the soul, the jiva. So paravuyir, sā, it's added here for poetic reasons. Sā means approaching or whatever, but it's not, that is, the soul and God are always one, so it's not a matter of them becoming one. So I translated Sā as intimate, the intimate oneness. That is, they are so, they are one, but it's just to add emphasis to their oneness, intimate oneness. But basically, paravuyir-sār-ayikkam means the same as, in Sanskrit it is said, the term that is used is jiva brahmaikya, the oneness of jiva and Brahman. So the oneness of jiva and Brahman, that is what is signified by all the 4 mahavakyas. That is, mahavakyas are sayings in the Vedas, in the Upanishads, that declare the oneness of the soul and God, of jiva and Brahman. So of these 4 mahavakyas, each of the 4 Vedas has one of these 4 main mahavakyas. There are also other sayings that are referred to as mahavakya, but these are the 4 principal ones. The tattvamasi is the one that is most often referred to. That is, tattvamasi means that you are. That refers to Brahman, and tvam refers to ourselves, jiva. So what we actually are is not this small person that we seem to be, not this ego or jiva. What we actually are is only that. So tvam, it means though it's pointing at the jiva or its ego, it is pointing at the reality of ego. That is, ego is the mixed awareness, I am this body. In that mixed awareness, the I am portion, that is Brahman. So that's what is signified by this, by tattvamasi. But the I am in us is what we essentially are, that is Brahman. That's one Mahavakya. Another Mahavakya is Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Another one is I am Atma Brahman. Brahma. This very self is Brahman. That's referring to ourself. What we actually are is Brahman. And the other one is Prajnanam Brahman. Jnanam means knowledge or awareness. Prajnanam, in this context, it implies pure awareness. Pure awareness is Brahman. So that what is pure awareness? It is that mere awareness I am, without any adjuncts. That is pure awareness. So that is Brahman. So all these four Mahavakyas, they're all, what they're all indicating is the oneness of Jiva and Brahman. In other words, para-uyir-sār-ayikkam, the oneness of the Supreme and the soul. So besides satchidananda, besides sattiya-cit-sukham, besides existence, awareness, happiness, that Mahavakya, that you are, the meaning of which is jiva brahmaikya, is the meaning of Aruna. That is, Aruna, the first three syllables of Arunachala are Aruna. So Ar refers to, that is, since it consists of three syllables, it refers to these, the three components of Satchidananda, not that they're components, three aspects of Satchidananda. It refers to the three words contained in the Mahavakya, that you are, and to the three words in Jiva Brahmaikya. We can parallel it in that way. I've also heard that in her commentary, I think Kanakamal says that Murugan has equated R with Satchidananda, sattiya-cit-sukham, Ru with Jiva Brahmaikya, and now with tattvamasi. So we can parallel it in whatever way, but the main point is that what Bhagavan is saying here is that the meaning of Aruna is it's referring to Satchidananda and to the oneness of Jiva and Brahman, which is what is signified by the Mahavakya tattvamasi. So that is the meaning of Aruna. And then in the next clause he says, Achala tu artam ghaṇamadu aham. That means the meaning of Achalam is Ghanam. Ghanam means completeness, density, firmness, abundance. It's referring to the paripurna, that is the complete, the paripurna nature of Brahman, or of the paripurna nature of our real, or of what we actually are, and also the firmness, the stability, because it is that which is, as Bhagavan said in the previous verse, it is achilane ayanam. That is what Arunachala actually is that motionlessness. That motionlessness is what is meant by achalam. Chala means movement. Achala means without movement. So what is without movement is immutable. So it's also referring to that firm immutability of of our real nature, of Satchidananda, of that fundamental awareness I am, which is what is referred to in that by the when it is said Jiva Brahmaikya. In what sense of Jiva and Brahman one? As Bhagavan says in Upadeshundya, in verse 23 of Upadeshundya, Bhagavan says, sorry, not 23, 24 of Upadeshundya, Bhagavan explains this oneness of Jiva and Brahman by saying, Irakum ekayal isa jivagal oru porale ava undipara upadi unave verundipara. That means Irakum ekayal means by their existing nature. So in their mere being, Isa Jivagal, God and soul, are oruporul, are one substance. Oruporule ava, they're only one substance. Upadi unave veru, only the adjunct awareness is different. That is because we have limited ourselves with this set of adjuncts, this body consisting of 5 sheaths. We seem to be separate from God, but what we actually are is and what God actually is nothing but the one real substance. That one real substance is I am. So in the ego is the mixed awareness. I am this body. This body is an adjunct. This body refers to all the 5 sheaths. That is an adjunct. But that is unreal. What is real is only the fundamental awareness I am. So that is God, that is Brahman. So that is what is meant by Jiva Brahmaikya. That oneness is so immutable, so firm, and so complete. There's nothing other than that. So that is what is the significance of Achala. So Achala denotes that is, even when we seem to have risen as ego and to have projected all this world, the actual truth is only Satchidananda. Only what we actually are is only that Satchidananda, that Brahman. So that oneness of Jiva and Brahman is true even when we seem to have risen as ego. Because this ego is never anything other than Brahman. It only seems to be something other than Brahman because of its identification of itself with adjuncts. If instead of attending to anything other than itself, if ego turns its attention back within to see what it actually is, it will see that it is Brahman and was never anything other than Brahman. So that the fact that Brahman is immutable, that is our natural state of just being as we actually are, that is immutable. Even when, so our rising as ego is a mere appearance. And in whose view does ego appear to have arisen? Only in the view of ego. In the view of Brahman, there is only Brahman, nothing other than Brahman. So what we actually are is never aware of ego. It's only in the view of ourself as ego, but we seem to have risen as ego. But if we as ego turn our attention back within to see what we actually are, we will see that we were always immutably Brahman. We were always Achala. We were always unmoving. So that when Bhagavan says that the meaning of Achala is ghaṇam, he's referring to that fullness and that stability, that firmness, that density. Ghaṇam means what is complete, what is dense, densely packed, what is firm, immovable, and what is abundant. It is the fullness, the whole, that is it. Indirectly, what ghaṇam is referring to here is the paripurna tatva, the one reality, which is the infinite whole, and which is, being the infinite whole, there is nothing other than it. It is not limited by time, it's not limited by space, it's not limited in any way. Because it's beyond the limits of time, it is therefore unchangeable. So it is unmoving, and it is firm, and it is complete. So in these two clauses, Bhagavan first explains the meaning of Aruna, the first 3 syllables, and then he explains the meaning of achala. And then in he then ends the verse by saying, and as I say, logically this final clause we have to take at the beginning, because the final clause, Vāṭaka varuļyām mutti niṇaikka Arunachalam muṉṉiḍavē. That means when one carefully considers Arunachalam, which is red gold pervading light and which bestows liberation when one thinks. So when one carefully considers Arunachala, we have to take this, that is often in Tamil verses, words are not, clauses and even words within clauses are not arranged in their normal prose order. So if Bhagavan were to have written this in prose, this clause would come first. When one carefully considers Arunachalam, that's Arunachalam muṉṉiḍavē. And what does he say about Arunachalam? There are two relative clauses here. The first one is Vāṭaka varuļyā. That means which is, literally it means, Sev means red, Ādaka gold, means pervading, Oli means light, which is, so it literally means which is red gold pervading light. What that signifies is that Arunachala, the light that Bhagavan refers to here is the light of pure awareness. So that light is pervading in the sense that it's all-pervading. So the all-pervading light of pure awareness. So why does he refer to it as red gold? Because its bright luster is like red gold. That is the it's a poetic way of describing the infinitely bright light of pure awareness. And then he says, mutti niṇaikka aru. That is means which bestows. Aru means grace, or as a verb, graciously bestows. Graciously bestows mukti when one thinks. What does that mean? That means when we think of Arunachala, it bestows liberation. That is one of the greatnesses of Arunachala, that it bestows liberation when we merely think of it. What is the significance of saying that Arunachala bestows liberation when we merely think of it? Because Arunachala, as Bhagavan explained elsewhere, and as he explains indeed in this verse, Arunachala signifies Satchidananda, that which is shiny in our heart as I am. So thought of Arunachala, that is the deepest way to think of Arunachala, is not merely to think of the outward form of Arunachala, but to think of what Arunachala actually is, that which is shiny in our heart as I. As Bhagavan says in the first verse of Arunachala Aksharamai, Arunachala mena ahame niṇaikka ahate vērārupāya Arunachala. Arunachala, you root out the egos of those who think who think that Arunachala is only, who think of Arunachala only as I. That's one meaning. Another meaning, ahame, can mean only I. It can also mean within. Those who think of Arunachala within. How do we think of Arunachala within? We're not thinking of something external. We're thinking of that which is internal. Arunachala is always shining in our heart as I am. So truly thinking of Arunachala is turning our attention within. And when we turn our attention within, ego is thereby annihilated, and the annihilation of ego is mukti. That is the significance of this traditional belief that Arunachala bestows liberation when merely thought of. Because Arunachala, why does Arunachala appear outwardly in the form of a hill? Only to turn our mind within. By merely thinking of this outward form of Arunachala, that outward form had this power of grace to turn our attention within, to think of the real form of Arunachala, which is only I. Thinking of I means attending only to I. So being self-attentive is the real meaning of thinking of Arunachala. And that will annihilate ego and thereby bestow liberation. So, the meaning of the whole verse, if we take it all together, it is that is, without expanding it at all, the meaning of the verse is, when one carefully considers Arunachalam, which is red gold pervading light, and which bestows liberation when one thinks, besides existence, awareness, happiness, that you are, the meaning of which is the intimate oneness of the Supreme and the Soul, is the meaning of Arunachala. Oh, sorry, the meaning of Aruna. The meaning of Achalam is completeness. That's the bare translation. If we expand it, it means to bring out more of the implied meaning. When one carefully considers the meaning of the name Arunachalam, which is the all-pervading light of pure awareness, whose bright luster is like red gold, and which bestows liberation when one thinks of it, the meaning of Aruna, which consists of 3 syllables, Aruna, is not only sattiya-cit-sukham, that existence, awareness, happiness, but also that Mahavakya tatvam asi, that you are, the meaning of which is para-uyir-sār-ayikkam, the intimate oneness of the Supreme and the Soul, which in Sanskrit is known as Jiva Brahmaikya, the oneness of Jiva and Brahman. And the meaning of Achalam is Ghanam, which is completeness, density, firmness, or abundance. So that's the meaning of the whole verse. There is also an alternative meaning, that is in the Tamil book. Bhagavan gives a footnote in which he, the footnote is to in the 3rd line, referring to the 3rd and 4th feet of the 3rd line, referring to the 3rd and 4th feet of the 3rd line, namely vāhuñcev vāṭaka, Bhagavan wrote a footnote in which he said, Vāhum mriṇmaya enavum padam. Enavum padam means that the text can also say. And the alternative reading is Vāhum mriṇmaya. If we separate the words, Vāhuñcev vāṭaka, which is the main reading, Ahum is the final word of the previous clause. It is in the clause that in which Bhagavan says the clause in which Bhagavan says Achala tu atum gadu adu ahum. So that ahum is that, but because Bhagavan's giving the footnote to the verse which is split according to feet, he has to include that ahum in the alternative reading. So the words that actually he's changing are instead of sevādaka, mriṇmaya. Sevādaka, as I explained earlier, means red gold. So Bhagavan is describing that light of pure awareness as sevādaka, that all-pervading light of pure awareness. He refers to it as red gold. In this alternative meaning, he refers to it as mriṇmaya. Mriṇmaya means composed of earth or earthen. Therefore, in this alternative version, he's describing Arunachalam as mriṇmaya varuļyā, which literally means which is earthen pervading light. Here Bhagavan is he is contrasting 2 paradoxical facts about Arunachala. Namely, what Arunachala actually is the all-pervading light of pure awareness, but it nevertheless appears in the form of a hill composed of earth. So this is a very beautiful poetic way of contrasting these 2 paradoxical facts about Arunachala. What Arunachala actually is the all-pervading light of pure awareness, which is ever shining in our heart as I am. But because our attention is going outwards, out of his immense grace, he has appeared in the form of a hill composed of physical matter. That is the significance of this alternative reading that Bhagavan has given here. So when Bhagavan refers to Arunachala, he's both referring to the reality of Arunachala, which is that fundamental awareness I am, which is Satchidananda, which is the significance of Tattvamasi. It is the Tat that is referred to in Tattvamasi, and it is the that Tattvamasi signifies the oneness of jiva and soul, that is in order to teach this, in order to teach that we are actually one with Brahman, in order to teach us through silence that you are that, therefore attend to yourself, Arunachala appears outwardly in the form of a hill composed of earth. So there's so much poetic beauty, and Bhagavan is expressing his love here, both for Arunachala as it really is, which is of the light of pure awareness, and Arunachala as it appears to the outward term mind, which is in the form of a hill composed of earth. So Bhagavan brings in so much beauty into his poetry, so much beauty and also so much deep meaning, and he's pointing out what he's always in Bhagavan's verses. The words themselves have very deep meaning, but not only do they have deep meaning, they also have very deep implication. Often the implication goes beyond the mere meaning of the words. If we take the meaning of the words, earth and pervading light, what on earth does that mean? Well, it has very, very deep significance. Bhagavan is expressing deep significance through these words. So, as I say, this is a verse in which Bhagavan has explained the meaning of the name Arunachala. As I say, I don't know the context in which Bhagavan wrote this verse, but there's a significance in the fact that Bhagavan wrote this verse. That is, everything in Bhagavan's life happened for a purpose. And traditionally, when one comes to a guru, the guru will give a mantra. And the guru will not only give a mantra, he will explain the meaning of the mantra. So the mantra that is being given by Bhagavan is, if we want, mantra means, in this context, means the divine name. The divine name that was dearest to Bhagavan is Arunachala. That's why Aksharamlai, every verse ends with the word Arunachala, and the refrain is Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. So Bhagavan had so much love for this name Arunachala. So if at all we want a mantra, to repeat with love, the mantra that has been given by Bhagavan is Arunachala. And when a guru gives a mantra, he not only gives the mantra, he also explains the significance of the mantra, what each letter of the mantra means. So here Bhagavan has explained the meaning of each letter of this name Arunachala. What Arunachala actually signifies is Satchidananda, Tattvamasi, Jiva Brahmaikya, and that the stability of that firmness, the density of that is the immutability of this fact. We are always Brahman. We're not just Brahman when we annihilate ego. Even now when we've risen as ego, we are always that. We are always Satchidananda. So Bhagavan is driving that point home by saying that Arunachala, Achalam, the non-movement signifies that ghaṇam, that density, that firmness, that completeness. That is the whole truth and nothing but the truth. But we are that. And what is that? That is Satchidananda, and that is what is always shining in our heart as I, and that is Arunachala. Om Namo Bhagavate Śrī Aruṇācala Navamaṇimālai, and that is Ramana. Arunachala and Ramana are one and the same. And they are always shining in our heart as I am. So ever available to us.